What's going on, everybody? My name is Dillon Bennett. I'm a freshman at Southern Wesleyan University, and this is going to be the first episode of our podcast called He Heard. This episode is going to be called And He Answered, and I'm here with my friend, my great friend, Landon Pitts.
What's up, guys? I'm Landon Pitts. I'm a freshman at SWU.
And then we got Mr. Andrew Baxley behind the camera. He's going to be chiming in whenever he wants.
Yo, what's up, guys?
All right. So, so basically how this came about was we were chilling in the lobby of our dorm hall, and Landon comes up to me, and he's just like, let's start a podcast.
Why not?
And I was like, okay. And I'm in a media communications class here through Dr. Lewis Knight. Shout out Dr. Lewis Knight. And I decided that I would make that my my assignment for the year, and so that's where we are. That's what we're doing here. But I mean, it's a lot more than just a media communications assignment.
No, yeah.
We have an Amon-Ra St. Brown touchdown for all you fantasy owners.
I don't have him on my squad, so.
Andrew loves sports, folks. Let me tell you that right now.
We got the Thursday night football game on right now. We're recording this on September 28th, so we got Thursday night football between the Lions and the Packers.
You know, I told him not to do this.
It doesn't stop the podcast though.
Anyways,
Can't control the football brain.
So the basic idea behind the podcast name is He Heard, and we got that from Psalm 116. Landon, if you want to open up and read that out to the audience real quick.
Baby. Job, it's a good book too.
Job's a great book. Gotta love Job. I just finished that up a couple days ago.
Psalm 16?
116.
116.
Oh, brother.
Crap, bro.
We're going the wrong way.
We good, though.
We're good.
Should have had this marked.
Yeah.
Should have. It would have been smart.
Hey, that's why he's the guest, not the host. Hey.
Psalm 116. Bro, I'm still on 5. All right. Psalm
116.
Bro, you said 116,
you're right,
brother.
Right.
It's okay.
I think it's 116 verse 1.
You're tripping out. Swat the Bible.
Right there. Oh, you got it underlined. Okay.
I do.
Hey.
I do. It says, I love the Lord because he has heard my appeal for mercy, because he has turned his ear to me. I will call out to him as long as I live.
Yeah. So, as you heard, he heard us. I mean, he heard our cries. I mean, as he does daily. Not only does he hear us, but he also answers us. So that's what I want to kind of just press every episode. I want to kind of just ask whoever's the guest, just like, what did you appeal to God? Like, what was your cry for mercy to God? How did he hear you, and how did he answer you? And so, Mr. Landon Pitts, that's my question for you today.
I guess I'll just go through my whole story while I'm on it.
Go through the story. I'll say mine after, since it's the first episode.
Might as well do both. A little testimony time, I guess.
Yeah.
So basically, my dad has been a pastor. I grew up in I grew up in a Christian home. He's a pastor. And so, like, from a young age, I knew, who God was. I knew that there was a God. I got baptized at a really young age. Didn't really, know what that meant. It was just kind of a thing that you did. Mm-hmm. But got baptized. Life kept on going. And our family, we started a new church called Life Point. And so, around during this time, I remember I started, really struggling with, things, addictions with things. But I remember, one, particular beach trip, the thing was, really heavy on my, mind and heart. And, I literally remember one night we were at Texas Roadhouse. Mm-hmm. And, I just, kept, feeling it. I was like, okay, I gotta tell my dad. This burden is, too heavy on me. Mm-hmm. So I told my dad, and that night, I told him that night, and it was just, that night when I went to bed, the Lord was just, pressing on my heart. He was like, okay, I'm here. I'm with you. And so after that, I keep going on. I was free from that bondage, that sin, But, going into high school, going into the peer pressure of high school, I didn't make the best decisions. I didn't really choose the best friends either. You can probably attest to that.
Yeah.
But once I actually, it was my ex-girlfriend now, but I became friends with her and then her brother and then a couple of their friends, and it really just set me on the right path.
Mm-hmm.
And so at that time, it was like Lord showed me. He was like, okay, I want you to follow me, and I'm putting these people in your life so you will follow me. So you have godly examples who you are going to love and you're going to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And so go throughout, all of high school, and really didn't struggle that much with any addictions or anything. But the big thing was doubt. So senior year comes around, and doubt comes in, and it's just like this big thing of, is there really like a God? I've grew up my whole life thinking that there is a God, and is there really a God? And so I literally remember one night, I think I was with friends. I dropped some friends off at their house, and then I was driving home, and it was like 8, 9 o'clock maybe, and literally see the most beautiful sunset I've ever seen in my life. And literally, I'm just like, in that second, I'm like, dang, okay.
Okay, God.
Okay, God, you are real. And so that pretty much shut out all the doubt that I had. And so decided to go to SWU, and so now I'm here. Met some really great friends like Dillon.
Amen.
And starting the podcast, I guess, and just keep, trying to strive after the Lord with all I have. Still make mistakes, but it's an everyday battle.
Yeah, that's a good word, man.
Trying to, win over souls.
Yeah. So I would say, I guess, what was your biggest, like it's saying in Psalm 116, what was your biggest cry for mercy? Like what was the biggest thing that you just needed freedom from, like just either recently or just throughout your life, and how did he answer you?
It's probably the doubt. So like that night I was talking about, I like literally remember crying in the car, and like I remember turning a corner and seeing the sunset. And so it was just like me crying out to God. It was literally right there. And so me crying out to God, it's like God was listening, and he's always listening.
Yeah.
No matter what. And so that's really what happened. I was crying out, and he showed me that he's tangible, he's real. He answered.
Yeah. Man, that's a great word. To kind of bounce off that, I guess I'll
But I say, yeah, you go ahead and go, brother.
Get mine too. So, I grew up in a Christian household as well. My parents were both pretty firm believers, but it was never something that they like forced onto me. It was something that they wanted to be my own journey. They wanted it to be something that, I found myself, and I didn't lose myself in at an early age. Yeah. So I always knew there was a God. I always believed there was a God. I get into middle school, and the cursing comes out as a young kid. That's just kind of how it goes. Yeah. Find yourself with the wrong friends. Got really involved with video games, with girls. Not saying there's anything wrong with video games, but that's the only thing I was doing was video games.
Yeah, well, it becomes a problem when you do too much of it.
Yeah, and you're not leaving time for God. But so then, go through middle school, and I just kind of always felt like I was a little bit of an outcast. All my friends always talking about they're hanging out with their friends, hanging out with these girls, blah, 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 blah. And I always kind of felt like I was just left out, like I was a little bit of an outcast. And I go into high school as a freshman, and I kind of just, there's always just this emptiness in my heart. And in freshman year, we get hit by COVID. Get hit by COVID, go into isolation. And at this point, I kind of just, I kind of forgot about God. There was no church to go to anymore, which was like the only thing through my middle school years and through up till then that like kind of kept me in realization of God at that time. So then COVID hits, and there's no church. Church is closed, school is closed. So even if there was somebody trying to preach the gospel to me at school, can't do it anymore. Sophomore year rolls around, we get back into school, and I just start finding my worth in girls and relationships and all this stuff. And I lost sight of who I was. All I cared about was how was I performing in soccer, which girl could I pull, How funny can I be at the expense of others, at the expense of myself, at the expense of my own dignity? Indeed. Yep. Mm-hmm. And then, yeah. And then, so roll around junior year, I'm still just stuck in that same place. If anything, I get worse. I start diving into alcohol, marijuana, if you want to get specific. That winter, just kind of just going through the same thing. If anything, just keep on getting worse and worse and worse. And then come that I think February, I ended up making the biggest mistake of my life. I lost, what I'm talking about. Yep. We don't got to say it, but we know what we're talking about. And yeah, I lost it. And I remember just thinking to myself that was like the one thing my parents had always told me not to do. Like, don't do this until you're married. Like, just don't. Like, that's nothing good is gonna come from it. And I just remember thinking after it, I was just like, what have I done? I went back into my room and I prayed, and I was just like, God, I'm so sorry. Like, I know this is not me. I know this is not what you have planned for me. And I just kind of sat there and just wept in his presence, and I was just calling out for him. And I'm not gonna say I changed my ways immediately after that, but a couple weeks after that, my friend Clayton Haynes, he's gonna be a guest on here soon enough. He had been in just as much of a hard time as me. I'll let him share that when he comes on. But he hits me up and he's like, "Hey, you want to come to this church conference?" And I was like, Clayton is inviting me to a church conference right now. This is, Pursuing Passion. No, not Passion, Pursuing Passion. Same thing, but at my home church of Grace Snellville. And the topic of it is love, sex, and relationships. And I was like, wow. Okay, God. Literally a weekend after. He's just like. And just knocks at my door with Clayton of all people. Like, when I tell you, he'll tell you. But, like, when I tell you Clayton was not the last guy, literally the last guy I would have expected at that time, it was unreal. And so from then on, I went to that conference and just realized that was not the life. The life I was living before was not the life I was meant to live, not the life I want to live anymore. Through that summer, I wasn't perfect. I wasn't anywhere near perfect. I still struggled with a lot of profanity. I still struggled with girls, but I never got to the point where I felt like I was at that breaking point again. And then Clayton, Michael, and Frankie, 3 guys that I can just attribute so much of my growth in my walk with God to. Texted me and were like, you want to be a lughead? And a lughead is basically a leader of a bunch of middle school kids at our church on Wednesday nights. And I was like, shoot, why not? And so we start that, and it was just the biggest blessing ever, the biggest blessing we could have ever had. I mean, we had these little munchkins running around, little 8th graders running around and just like looking up to us. And it was just like, oh my gosh, like we can't keep acting like this if we want to call ourselves leaders to these kids. So that was kind of the realization that we really have to change something around here. So I started searching after the right people, searching after the right girls. First off, that was the biggest thing because I was not pursuing godly women. So that was the first thing. I changed around, stopped cursing. I struggled with lust, and I kind of was able to release a lot of that. Alcohol was out of the picture, weed was out of the picture. All this stuff was out of the picture, and I just saw my life just start turning around. And I remember one point just thinking to myself, I was like, imagine me still in this life at this time in the year. I remember sitting there and I was just like, God is so good. Like, I wouldn't be anywhere near as happy as I am, anywhere near as successful as I am. So that leads us to December of 2022. Me, Frankie, Michael, Clayton's sister, and her boyfriend, we all we're in around the same area of our walk with God, where we're kind of all just really thirsting after him, really just seeking after him. And we decided that we were going to go to something called Passion. It's this big conference in Atlanta. I think there's one in Texas as well.
I can't wait for it this year.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait either. But so it's in Atlanta, State Farm Arena. We pack up our cars and we head down there.
That was Mercedes-Benz.
It was State Farm last year. I think it's Mercedes this year. But yeah, so we go there and we hear Jackie Hill Perry, we hear Jonathan Pecluto, we hear Tim Tebow, names like that, names you know.
Tim Tebow, maybe.
And Jonathan Pecluto was just amazing. We kind of sat there and we were like, this guy's cool. Like, not only is he speaking a word right now, but this guy is cool. And one of the big things he said was, I think it was, if I were to ask you right now, on a scale of 1 to 10, do you think you're getting into heaven?
He asked that the one that you missed.
That's like
Yeah, he did it at the one after, the day after the one that you went to. I went to see him, and he did the same thing.
Seriously?
Yep.
Yeah.
That's like a signature.
That
so
is.
He goes.
It got me too, though.
He goes, on a scale of 1 to 10, do you think you're getting into heaven right now? And all the people are like, oh, yeah, like I'm a good person. I give to the homeless. I feed the needy, blah, 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 blah. And he's just like, okay, well, you got this all wrong, and let me tell you why.
Yeah.
Because it's not anything you did. It's what
Jesus
Christ
did
did
on the
died on
cross.
the cross.
Yeah.
And that hit us all hard. So we're sitting there like, oh, that is a word. And so we've been listening to his podcast ever since then. And, I could say we're just kind of all on a steady road, just thirsting after God, and kind of led me here to Southern Wesley University. I met a bunch of new people, met a bunch of cool new people like Landon, like Andrew. And that's kind of where I am today. Andrew, you got anything you want to spread for us?
I mean, I'll be in my own episode a little bit later, so I don't want to dive too deep into it, but definitely God put me in a big spot here at Southern Wesley, and that coming into it when I was getting recruited, I didn't really know what God's plan was, but during the summer, God's plan was revealed to me. And the more time I spend here, the more time I see God in control of my life. I'm just really glad to be here. I'm really glad to serve the guys on the soccer team, and I'm just glad to be a part of such a connected Christian university.
Yeah. I mean, Andrew has been already, it's been like a month into the season. He's been a great leader for me and a bunch of other guys. Recently, I've been going through a bunch of soccer-related troubles, and I remember just coming into Andrew's room with my friend Luke Burleson. Shout out, Luke.
Shout out,
I'll try to
Luke.
get him on that episode, probably. I just remember coming in the room and just breaking down in tears and just being like, I've got nothing. Like, I need y'all. And they just spoke such a word into me that I was just like, these are guys I need to spend some time with. And so ever since that,
And that's the exact stuff I prayed for. I prayed for a guy like Dillon that I could that I could be Jesus to. So when Dillon came in, Dillon was sad, Dillon was down, but I was like, this is so awesome. I'm so glad to serve Dillon.
Yeah, and right there you can see God heard Andrew, answered him by sending him to me. God heard my prayer.
My guy heard. My guy got heard.
Hear me. God heard me asking for somebody that can just speak to me, like a wise guy that's going through the same stuff I'm going through that can speak to me and from experience give me good advice. And he heard and he answered. So I mean, just continuously you can see throughout all of our stories how God has heard us and how God has answered us. And that's just really where the heart is at with this podcast.
Yeah. There's one thing I wanted to ask you, and Andrew, you can chime in too, but like talking about like the three guys you had and like now at SWU, but like for me, like community is such a big thing.
Oh yeah.
So I was gonna ask you like what does that mean to you?
I mean, I don't even know how to put it into words really.
I can go first if you want me to.
Go ahead.
Yeah, have at it.
Yeah, so a big part of the reason I'm here at SWU is a church down the road in Anderson. It's called Upstate Church Anderson. It's a branch of First Baptist Simpsonville, which is my church at home. And a lot of the good Christian guys that I've known from high school and known from my hometown go to Anderson, and they started that church as a branch. And, I mean, those guys are just so solid, so down to earth. And so we talked about I'm a football guy, but so we go to church every Sunday, and then the rest of the day we're sitting on the couch watching football, talking about God. So it's just that was a part of the community that I knew I was getting into. And then once I got here, I found a whole new community. So I now have two big time God communities here, and that's obviously a huge part because those guys know everything I'm struggling with. I know what they're struggling with. We know what buttons to push when it's time to answer the hard questions and when it's time to lock in. Those guys know what we need to do, and it's just huge to have something like that a part of your life, and that's what God designed that stuff for, is to help us through life, because alone. We all seen it through our own struggles, but when you try to do it alone, it's impossible. You need to have guys. You need to have literally talks like what we're doing right now. It doesn't always have to be a podcast, but you can just sit down and talk to guys over lunch, over football, just whatever. You need to have talks like this in order to be a Christian. It's impossible to do it otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, to kind of bounce off that, I'm from Atlanta. My home church is Grace Snellville. I love that place with all my heart. I've been going into it almost all my life, but I haven't really been going to it until about a year or two ago. And around that same time is where I kind of rekindled my friendship with Clayton and Michael. Me and Michael were friends since kindergarten, and like we kind of just spread apart just through the courses of life. So we kind of just get back together, and it was just such a cool thing to see how we were all just seeking after God, but in such different ways.
Yeah.
We were all we all had our own personalities, we all had our own strengths. Like Michael's biggest strength is just being just such a joyful spirit and just being able to share the word of God to anybody and everybody who's willing to listen.
Such a beautiful thing. Like God gives us such different, unique talents and gifts. I was gonna say, so, since like I've grown up in like Life Point, like which is the church that I go to, like we just like celebrated 10 years. So it's like the community there is like crazy. Like you have people who know you, who love you. And so I've grown up with that community, great biblical community, people that I can, rely on, trust, call whenever I need them. But I'd say like my two biggest, like you said, like you've known, what's your friend's name again? Clayton. Yeah, like you've known them all, like your whole life. Like, so I have my two friends, Connor and Reed. And
shout out Connor and Reed.
Yeah, they don't go here, but shout out to them. And like I've known them literally, like I was in the emergency room when Connor was born.
Jeez.
That's crazy. And then I met Reed when I was in second grade, but it's just like two of the guys who I literally like can cry to, who I can laugh about, who I can have godly biblical conversations about. And like what Andrew was saying, like you can't live this life on your own. Like it literally says in the word that you can't do it. Like you need to have other followers of Christ around you, uplifting you, like pointing out when you're sinning. And so it's such an important part that I think gets neglected in your walk with Christ, that you can't do it on your own. You need other people to uplift you.
Yeah, if you're listening to this right now and you think that you can do it on your own, we say this out of love.
You can't.
So stop lying to yourself. You need to find guys.
You can't.
I mean, you can reach out to us. You can reach out to whoever, someone at your church, someone at your school. There is no way in life that you can walk the walk that God wants you to walk by yourself.
Yeah, that's a word.
And if you try, it's not pretty.
Yeah. And so, like I was saying with Michael, he just has such a joyful spirit, and that was something that I really struggled with. I was always kind of like a Debbie Downer. Like every time I would see somebody smoke that calls himself a Christian, I'll just be like, gosh, like that just makes me so mad. Like, God, give me patience with this person. Like it was just something that I just made me so angry with, and like stuff like that. And then Michael comes in and just has this joy spirit, no matter what's going on, no matter what's happening. And that's just something that like taught me, like through him. That's just one example of like how I learned through my community. And then through that, I talked about the Lug kids. That's one community of just a bunch of kids who just like look up to you, and just like you're a disciple to those kids, and they just listen to every word you say and just hear every word you say and act off of that. And so that's one community there. Obviously the community within the church, Grace Snellville. We met Frankie I've known Frankie my whole life too. And Frankie went off the rails as well, and kind of got reeled back in through the same church. And so it was just really cool to kind of see us all, how we separated and went our different ways, but eventually came back to each other through God. And I'd say that the biggest thing I learned from that is that, one, you can't do it alone, and two, our biggest mission as as Christ believers is to be a fisher of men.
Yeah, that's exactly where I was gonna go next.
And
like,
yeah, it's just like, I mean, it's just unreal, and not only to live on mission, but because that can kind of get twisted. People think that living on mission is when you're going to Africa, when you're going to Asia, all this stuff. No, living on mission is wherever you're at, spreading the word of God.
Exactly.
No matter where you are, no matter who you're with, no matter like who's listening, who wants to listen, it's just spreading the word of God.
Yeah.
So that was the biggest thing I learned from that, and I mean, it spread from our group of 4 to our group of 20 of our closest friends that we've kind of always stayed close through elementary school. We call ourselves the Fun Friends. That's our group chat name.
Fun Friends.
And I've seen recently a bunch of them just, some stray away and some come back, and it's an amazing thing to see. And it just every time I hear about it, every time I see it, it's just makes my heart happy.
That's what I was gonna go into, sharing the gospel, but like similar to you, like with the lugheads, is that what you call it?
Lugheads?
Lugheads.
Yeah.
So like I'm
under grace.
I'm a 6th grade boys leader at my church, and like I think it's also important, like guys like our age who love the Lord, serve the Lord, to be a influence for younger kids. So like whether, I mean, it doesn't have to be like, it could be the guy the same age as you, or obviously guys that are younger than you, but they want role models to look up to. And so if they don't have a great home life, if they're not, they don't have a prominent father figure in their life, obviously they should look to Jesus, but they also need other guys in their life who are going to uplift them. Yeah. And so that's kind of straight away, but I was going to go in the gospel. Something like this is like the other night in the shower. This is crazy, but I had this thought that I was literally going to say on here that some people think that sharing the gospel is an option. And it's not an option. Like it literally, like I think it's Matthew 26. It's talking about the Great Commission that Jesus sends the disciples out to go share the gospel. Commands them to go share the gospel. So it's not like it's not something that you just, and that's so many Christians just think they can get by with, just reading their Bible, living life, and we're literally commanded to go share the gospel. It's like if you love somebody so much, why would you not want to share about them?
Yeah, and another piece of scripture that I read in my quiet time earlier this week is from James 5. It's James 5:19. My brothers, if anyone among you wanders from the truth and someone brings him back, let him know that whoever brings back a sinner from his wandering will save a soul from death and will cover a multitude of sins.
Yeah, I mean,
that's crazy.
Landon's
literally,
Bible was
I was literally
to
flipped to James.
Landon's Bible was open to James right there.
James hit so hard.
Yeah, James does hit so hard. I read that every morning.
Like literally, like I had a small group the other night, and we went over James 1, and that's like I wanted to talk about it too. Because James is
a couple of games ago, we do a devotion before our games, and a couple of weeks ago, mine was on James 1.
Anger. Yeah, like you were saying about the father figure that those kids need. I have a personal kind of testimony.
Go ahead, brother.
One of my kids, I'm gonna say his name. He loves the attention. His name is Sean Vick. My boy. He'll probably they're all gonna watch this.
Oh, shout out to Sean Vick,
baby.
Shout out
Sean Vick.
Come on.
One thing that this kid is just like, he's a super emotional kid, a pretty sensitive kid, but like he's able to turn that into just being emotional, being open. To us as a family in Christ. And I just remember one week we were at I think we call it Fallout, and it's just like
it's like a retreat,
another little camp. Yeah. And so we're in our small group, and Sean is just like crying, and we're all like, "Hey Sean, like, you all right, buddy?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah, man, I just feel like I've never really had a father figure to be able to pour this out to. And you guys have just stepped into my life and just radically changed that. And let me tell you what, I was crying too.
Come on.
Just kids that age, they know the gospel. They've been taught the gospel their whole life. Yeah. They know what it is. They know
they
Jesus
need somebody to act it out.
They need somebody to, one, act it out, and two, push it on them and teach it to them in a way that's applicable to them. Because, you can go to a 60-year-old pastor as a 12-year-old kid and listen to him talk, it's not going to be applicable. Like however,
it's not going to be
much you want it
relatable
to be applicable to you, it's just not going to. So me as a high school kid, teaching to them, like expressing my struggles to them, expressing my vulnerability to them.
They realize that, wow, he's been through the same thing too.
He's been through this. Like he's been through this already, and not only has he been through this, but he's still going through it right now. And I remember the first time we ever met, I was just straight up vulnerable with him, and I told him, I made this mistake, and I can tell you there's nothing there. And they were all just like, oh wow, like this is a change up from last year. This guy's getting right into the deep stuff immediately. And that's just something they can all look back on and just appreciate, and just now they're in that same spot that I was to other kids that they can do the same thing, and just it's almost like a cycle. Like, you know, I was in Lug, my Lug heads poured out into me, then I was there, and I go to there, then it just goes all the way around, and it's just an ever-flowing cycle of souls running to Jesus' arms. And it's just an unreal, it's an unreal feeling. We had, I think, 7 or 8 of them get baptized, and I cried all the tears I could cry.
Did you see the thing that happened at Auburn the other week?
Yeah,
Auburn Unite. This is crazy. Okay, ready for this?
Clemson too,
Are you ready for this? So, a guy that I lead with, his name's Alex Tufel. I'm not sure if you watched this, but shout out
Alex Tufel.
He runs track for Clemson.
Okay.
And he like co-leads with me at my small group. And so he knows the people who did the Auburn Unite thing. And so he called. I was in the gym parking lot about to go in. Or wait, no, I was waiting on somebody. But like literally, like he calls me, and he's like, "Bro, like there's a chance that we can get this thing to happen, like what happened at Auburn to happen at Clemson." And so like he called me. He was like, "You think like SWU would be into doing it?" I was like, "Of course we'd be into doing it." And so like I still need to talk to those people, but like it's just like really crazy how like the connections and everything, because like very well like maybe possible that it could happen at Clemson. And JP might be there. He might not. The word's gonna flow through somebody. It doesn't matter who it is. Amen. But I really hope that happens.
That would be sick.
It'd be sick, honestly.
Coming to you soon.
Because there were like 100-something people that got baptized.
Yeah.
It's good, dude.
Yeah. Man. You got anything else you want to say?
Got anything, Andrew?
Yeah, the Packers are an embarrassment right now. It's 24-3.
Wow, my fantasy is going downhill.
The second quarter.
24-3.
The 3 was off a Jared Goff interception, and the return took the Packers into the red zone. They kicked a field goal, and they've punted every drive since.
So this is real right here. We're all over the place.
Yeah, but a good game to miss for us.
Great game to miss. Great game to miss.
I would never miss a football game.
I
Committed.
I think that's all we got for you guys today. I just want to personally thank y'all
for real
for tuning in and just
won't be the last one. Won't be the last one.
Having an open heart, having a softened heart, and I pray that anything that was said today, if it applies to your life, that you'll hear those words. Not that they came from me, not that they came from Landon, not that they came from Andrew, but that they came from the Lord, and just a vessel to speak to Him. And I pray that will enter your hearts and penetrate your lives, Lord.
Working on social media and all the other stuff, so I can't really plug any of that right now, but we will be back. This is the first, but this is nowhere near the last.
Well, I'm guessing like the next ones will actually like, it'd be cool if just like actually dig into different books of the Bible. I love to do that.
We have a long road ahead of us.
Long road,
because we've got episodes planned out.
And then we got
more and more. So yeah, I mean, we're
cabin? Question mark.
You said what?
Cabin in the near future?
Cabin? Coming to you soon. Maybe the Potter's Place. Shout out the Potter's. Matter of fact, no, we're not done.
No,
Shout out the Potter's Place.
We're talking about
the Potter's Place. If you ever come anywhere near Central South Carolina, Clemson, South Carolina, Anderson, South Carolina,
I can't believe we almost forgot to talk about that.
Look up the Potter's Place.
Buddy.
Man, I mean, I've been going there this past week because I've been struggling with a lot of stuff. I've had a lot of free time, and I've just been pouring my heart out at this place called the Potter's Place. And basically what it is I forget their names. I wish I could remember their names right now. But a lovely couple felt it was their mission to give just a sanctuary for. It started out with just their family and friends to just go out when they're visiting them to kind of pour their hearts out to Jesus and just have a safe space to live. And they kind of expanded it into just
It's a couple cabins now.
Yeah.
Prayer closets.
a bunch of cabins where you can just sit in and just be in God's presence, doing whatever you need to do.
I was only there for like an hour a day, but it was crazy.
Yeah, it's unreal. I mean, the people are so welcoming there. They're the nicest people in the world. So if you come anywhere near that,
Please go to Potter's Place.
please go to the Potter's Place. And if you don't have that near you,
Have you been there yet,
find
Andrew?
somewhere.
I went there on my recruiting visit with Coach Q, but I haven't been there for a quiet time. I just went to go see it.
Yeah, I can't. I mean,
I don't think you can emphasize how
no.
you actually have to go there.
Yeah, I think it was in chapel one week. Reverend Quint Pitts was talking about how
Shout out to Reverend Quint Pitts.
Shout out Reverend Quint Pitts.
We're not related, by the way.
No.
We're not.
How many shout-outs are we going to do?
A lot.
This is the first episode, so we're gonna be shouting out everybody.
But they all deserve it. So
Facts. He was talking about how you need just like a cave. I think he was talking about.
Yeah, he was talking
I
about
forget what psalm
it's
it
like
was.
a cave from his childhood that he was talking about.
Yeah, and I forget what psalm it was, but it's the preamble of it, I guess, is David writing this from a cave.
Yeah, he was talking about
And so he was talking about
maybe I
how
can find it.
he was talking about how you need to find a place where you can just be in the Lord's presence, be in your own solitude, be alone with your thoughts, and just be able to pour it out in a safe place, like a cave. And the place that sprung to my mind at chapel that night was, I want to go to the Potter's Place. Like, I've heard about it, I've seen it, and I want to go. And I've just been going ever since. And it's just, man, it's made it.
I don't think I've ever been to a place where it's that quiet.
No, it's unreal. It's
It
unreal.
really is unreal.
Yeah. So if you don't have if you're not living in South Carolina, if you don't have something like that near you,
please go to Potter's Place.
go in your room.
I mean,
go in a closet. Get somewhere quiet. Get somewhere where you can just be attentive to the Lord and just go there every day. Just be intentional about it. It's made an unreal impact on my life, and same with Landon.
I've only been there once, but I already
He's been
have.
there. Yeah, I mean,
Went today.
yeah. So that's what I want to end that off on.
I feel there's so much more to talk about. But it's for the next episode.
Yeah, that's what we're gonna end it off on. So I already thanked y'all once. I'm gonna thank y'all again for tuning in.
I'll also thank you.
We'll see y'all when the next episode is published.
Peace.